Yo.
You are now listening to the smoking section.
Oh yeah.
Where you'll find hot topics.
And fire conversations.
Keep it locked.
You hear me?
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is the smoking section with your host, Big Corpse, live and direct. How you doing? How you feeling? So check it out. I'm gonna try to keep this one snappy, right? But I do want to say thank you to all of you guys who've been tuning in and who've been very loyal to the podcast. It means the world to me, yeah. But let's hop straight in. Here recently in America, I don't know if they celebrate this around the world, but here in America, we just recently celebrated Indigenous Peoples Day. And if you are not familiar with Indigenous Peoples Day, it is the celebration of the indigenous people here in North America, and really like throughout all of the Americas. Like, it's our day, but specifically here in North America, and we are using this holiday to spread our awareness of not only of our existence, but of our struggles that we face. This holiday was formerly known as Christopher Columbus Day. If you don't know, Christopher Columbus was he was a priest or a missionary, I guess you could call him. And he was tasked with sailing the seas to the New World and, seeing what he could find, see what he could discover, and if he could spread, Catholicism throughout the New World. He landed in, if I remember right, it was like the Bahamas. And he was the one, if I remember correctly as well, that coined the term Indians, because he thought he had landed in India. It was also a part, like, I remember too from some of my studies that he was not only on like a Catholic expedition, but he was also on an expedition to find a faster route to India for the spice trade. So there's like a couple reasons. All I know for a fact is that he sailed the Atlantic looking, right, searching. Really, to me, it's like a really great mystery of how these guys actually fucking find these lands, and like how the world was mapped out. Like, the world map that we see today was mapped out by people hundreds of years ago. And yes, it's changed and this and that, you know what I'm saying, been altered, but for the most part, it's stayed the same. And it's very impressive, right? So I just want to throw that out there. Nautically, the nautical intelligence of these men was, extremely advanced. Now, before we get into this whole, should it not been changed, blah blah blah, right? I'm a full-blood Native American, and I've stood in protest lines. I've stood in picket, I've done it all, right? My father was a known activist. My mother, also very known in her community. My family, we are all known in our communities. We are known, I danced and sang in powwows. Matter of fact, I sang for the governor of North Carolina. I've sang in front of congressmen and congresswomen. I've sang in front of all kinds of people, right? Done competitions, the whole nine, right? So like how you have Sunday Christians, I'm not a powwow Indian. I'm Native American all day, every day. So when I say this, I'm trying to come from a very honest place, right? Like, as honest as I can be. But I was standing inside of LA City Council, right? Inside of City Hall when they passed the motion to amend Christopher Columbus Day and replace it with Indigenous Peoples Day. My father was also being honored that day as well, so I was able to receive an award for my dad on the same day, right? Something that he fought for his whole life but never lived to see. And I was, honored to be able to stand in his place, honored to stand for my father, right? So detaching myself from this subject is a little tough, right? And I want to be honest about that. So it's a little tough, but here we go. I do believe it needed to be changed, right? I just think the way people are going about it is extremely poor, right? I don't need to call this man, Christopher Columbus. I don't need to call him all kinds of murderers. And hold on, I'll pin real quick. Yeah, he murdered people, right? But he is subject of his time, right? Let's fast forward 1,000,000 years, and let's say the people of that time said driving cars was the worst thing you could have ever done to the earth, right? Should we denounce the success and the accomplishments of every single person on earth just because we drove cars at one point? Cars kill people. Cars kill people every single fucking day. Cars, right, total deaths outnumber COVID by a gajillion. It probably even outnumbers fucking cancer, and that's a statistic I'd like to pull up, somebody. So when I think about the amount of deaths that cars have brought along in comparison to, a bicycle, I can't really say that in 1,000,000 years when we're driving spaceships around the fucking galaxy, I can't sit here and say, well, you know what, they drove cars, so they're bad people. Christopher Columbus went out on a mission. He had an obligation, right? He was deemed worthy of this expedition and, went. And these are people, and think about this. And this is something I try to wrap my brain around. And me and my dad had discussions like this a lot. And we argued. but it's like, imagine walking up in a fucking neighborhood and these people speak a far different fucking language that you've never heard. And matter of fact, you've never even seen somebody that looked like them before. You've been out at ocean for 5 days, 6 days, and you stumble across these motherfuckers and now they shooting arrows at you and shit. Oh, fuck no. I'm fighting back. And bruh, I could be at the bar and if somebody fire off on me, I'm gonna go to work. I'm gonna get to work. I'm gonna start throwing them. So who cares? Like that part, I was like, who cares, right? Who cares? That part. Because if it was Native Americans the other way around, natives here in our own country murdered each other. Yes, they did. They fought over hunting territories. They fought over this stuff, right? And waterways. And yes, some stuff was agreed to. Yes, some stuff was said, okay, you can do this and we'll do that, right? But when you look at it, when you try to like step back a little bit, right? I can't sit here and blame Columbus for what he did, right? I can't blame them. Was it wrong? Yes, it was wrong. Murder, to me, murder is murder no matter what, right? And if these fools are shooting arrows at me, it's time to fucking keep moving, right? But who knows? Maybe they were low on food. Maybe they needed to dock. Maybe they were desperate to dock, so they just fucking found harbor, right? I don't know. But me, my instinct says to get the fuck out of there, right? These people do not want us here and we need to go, right? Whatever. But now that's so changing the name to Indigenous Peoples Day isn't as much as to say, oh, you guys are murderers. It's to say Indigenous people were here, right? And they discovered a man named Christopher Columbus lost at sea. Indigenous people were here, right? Or you could say Christopher Columbus was lost at sea, landed in America, and discovered that there was indigenous people here. He discovered that Europe wasn't so alone in the world. That England and Spain and Italy and France and Rome and all these places, Greece, all these places, that they weren't alone in the world. Asia and India, like that there was even more to this world. Like I'd like to say, like how I was saying earlier, like it's crazy how the world globe was once drawn and then redrawn and then redrawn again and then redrawn again. Right? I would love to see the first world map that was ever depicted. you know. So you got, like I just try to separate myself from the idea that the world as we know it was the world as they knew it as well, right? Like, you want to talk about civility, bro, we got things up in the sky that could take pictures of the whole world, the whole planet, right? So these guys would look at that shit and would probably piss themselves, dude. They were sailing the seas by candlelight, playa, and half these people can't find the remote control in their bedroom with a flashlight built into their phone. So I'm not going to sit here and, you know, try to act like the life we lived was the life they were living. But I think that by changing it to Indigenous Peoples Day, we are able we are able to honor everyone involved, honor everything that happened, right? Because yes, Christopher Columbus landed here, and then years later and time later, you know, all these hundreds of years later, and hours and days and minutes, all that shit, all that time later, we arrive here in America, here where I'm recording this podcast for you guys, right? And for you people, you know, for you people who are listening. Well, my lovely friends, I interrupt this broadcast to bring you a couple supporters of the Smoking Section podcast. First, we have Tiki Jenkins, who is a musical artist and crump dancer, member of the DCX Crump Crew. Yeah, you can find him on Spotify. Listen to his music. You might even catch a couple of his tunes spinning in the background. Next, I have Jason Judge Snell. Yeah, he's out here repping Bear Witness. He's out here throwing sessions and educating the youth and even adults on the importance of dance and its culture. Find him on Instagram at bearwitness.session. That's BARE witness.session on Instagram. Yeah. Thank you guys for always supporting, showing love. Yeah. Now back to the show. You know, there were certain conquerors who also led to you being able to enjoy the things that allow you to listen to this podcast, right? So Indigenous Peoples Day to me is very important. It's very important so that we all take a minute and say, hey, there's a bloodline that comes from every single piece of the earth, right? No island is alone, right? And to think for a second, you know what I'm saying? Like, just to think for a second, what was really here before the Europeans landed here? What didn't make it into the history books? What was saw? What was here? What was living here? Right? Like, there's a lot of witch stories and werewolf stories that come from the Americas, right? And I would love to have known, right? You know, I would love to have seen all the different regalia, like, you know what I'm saying, all the different robe and different dress that people, how they would dress. I would love to have been able to see it before the Europeans came. I would love to have seen what it looked like, right? And this leads me into the second part of this, right? And I'm gonna make this part snappy because it's just like, fuck. Indigenous Peoples Day is also a day that I hope people start looking at and start realizing that we are a part of the conversation too. We are in this motherfucker too, right? And I say that because I've been, like I was saying before, right? I used to do powwows and stuff, and sing and dance, and I don't want to say I'm educated on my culture, but I am pretty well versed, right? You can count the amount of schools on one hand that probably have an Indian education program, like a thorough one, for their student population, right? And it's just, I want to make sure that I say all this right? Because it's gonna be deep. On one hand, you could count these programs, right, throughout America. And I've been to schools and done shows for the student body, right? Did shows, and at the end of the show, like I'm talking about, I'm in full regalia, singing, dancing, doing my thing. And then to have a parent ask us, how did you get here? Like, how did you get here today? And to our confusion, you know, we were like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, and the dude was like, I'm sorry? Like, I don't understand your question. And she says, did you come here on a horse? And it's like, no, ma'am. We came in an expedition. Full-grown adults literally thinking that we pulled up on horses with feathers in our hair. And, you know, like, these are the clothes I wear every single day. Like, no, dude, I wear fucking Vans, Chuck Taylors. I like, you know, Echo and 501 jeans, you know. What the fuck? What are y'all talking about? Like, bro, I shop at H&M. Like, you know what I mean? I just ate at Denny's this morning. Like, what the fuck? What? Y'all thought I rode a fucking buffalo in this bitch? What are you talking about? And it's an adult. And I was a child. I was a child at this time. Like, I was in high school, right? Freshman. You can't tell me that adults are that uneducated, right? Or that unaware of what the situation is. Okay? There's no way. There's no way. But, you know, when you go back and you flip through and you start to look at how some of the laws were constructed for Native Americans and the things that happened, right? I could continue to go down this rabbit hole real quick, but I want to wrap it up with this, right? Maybe I can put together some info and some resources and some stats and do another episode on this topic, but I want to leave it at this. Is you can see the ways that laws were constructed for Native Americans, right? Conservatorships. Let's start there. People are very mad about Britney Spears and her conservatorship with her father, right? Well, how about this? Native Americans were not only removed from some of their homelands, but they were moved, then quote unquote relocated to a barren wastelands, places that had horrible agriculture, no access to water, and was a fucking dump, honestly, right? But these Native Americans struck gold. They actually struck liquid oil, right? Crude oil. And they were assigned conservators to help delegate the money made off of that oil. Some of these people were blown to fucking pieces so that the conservators, they could then assume their wealth. There was laws passed to help this. There was laws passed, right, for every other ethnic group before Native Americans, right? The what is it? The 1/3 proclamation, I think that's what it's called, where a black man was considered 1/3 of a human. Well, there's nothing for a Native American in that. You know, for a long time, we weren't even allowed to vote. Long past that 1/3. Long past. So, again, I say that to say this, is that there's no way that people are this ignorant. There's no way. You choose to look past it. Everyone chooses to look past it and chooses to turn a blind eye, right? And I don't know why, but hopefully with this, people can start to take our opinion into consideration, right? There's a lot of politicians who come and campaign at our reservations and campaign at our events and campaign at our schools and campaign with us, promising certain tribes certain things. A lot have fallen through, and some has actually pulled through. So I hope, right, as a Native American people and as an Indigenous people of America, I hope that we start banding together a lot stronger and start using our resources to influence politics, right? That's the name of the game these days. Influence politics, influence. It's all about influence. So maybe we can start directing our casino money in certain directions. Maybe we can start directing our commerce in certain directions. Maybe we can start, moving our legislation on our reservations into certain directions, right? So that, people want the land back movement to work out and all this stuff. Like, again, those are different discussions. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. But I will say that together, right, as a nation, we're not at all, right? I'm an American through and through. But I can't forget where my bloodline comes from, right? And I don't want anyone to ever forget where they come from. I encourage everyone to be educated of where your parents hail from, where your family comes from, where all these things. I encourage the fuck out of it, right? Because if we don't know where we come from, how are we going to know where we're going? And with that thought, right, I want you guys to think that even though Native Americans, we make up such a small percent of the population here in America, right? We can tell you, our people can tell you more about this country than this country can. And that's a fact. That's a fucking fact. The land you stand on, right? Anywhere here in America, they can tell you more about it than any history book. The answers are there, right? Let's learn from each other. We don't have to fight to learn from each other. No bloodshed is needed. No canceling, no, condemning, no judging. We don't need that. All we need is just education, right? To be educated on. It's not a back and forth. It's not a debate. We can't debate what happened. But what we can debate is how we all move forward together as a unit. Yeah. To take into consideration, to honor everyone, to honor it. Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Yeah. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. It'll already have been passed by the time this comes out. So next year, yeah, happy Indigenous Peoples Day. I hope you look forward to it. Some people actually get that day off from work, so I hope you enjoy. Yeah, all the good shit, man. All the good shit. I'm gonna be in Florida for the next 3 weeks. So if anyone's in Florida and would like to link up about a podcast, we can do it. I would love to do it, matter of fact. Yeah, I hope you guys are all doing great. COVID is still out there. It seems like we're starting to get past it. Herd immunity is starting to set in, and people are starting to do better and better, less and less deaths. I don't listen to the numbers, I listen to the streets, right? And I haven't heard about no one dying in a minute. So I'm praying, right? I'm praying that God gets us through it. I love you guys. Yo, the podcast has been growing, and I'm fucking thankful. If you made it this far into the podcast, I'm fucking thankful for you, yo. This is a dream come true, and y'all really need to know that, right? Like, maybe I might do a podcast on that, like, as we get older, that could be the title of it, as we get older. Yeah, I love y'all, man. Chase your fucking dreams. Chase your dreams. Yeah, that's all I can say. Yeah, I hope you have an amazing day. I hope you have a great week, month, year, and life. Yeah. I hope y'all all stay safe out there, all right? Stay motivated. Yeah, I'll see you on the flip side. All right? Bang, 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 bang.